I went to court. They don't care. What I had to say didn't matter. Wouldn't even hear it. My safety concerns were not addressed, so I have to break the fucking law again.
Hi, you've reached Megan. Leave a message and I'll call you back. Thanks. At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Meg, it's Sean. Call me back, please. All right, Walter. Oh my God, I need to move back. So I gotta figure out what the hell I did with my paperwork. I hope I didn't leave it at the courthouse. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mhm. Hey, Meg, what'd you think of your first day in court?
I didn't really like it.
Yeah, try 4 years of that and some abuse in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said you were inappropriate.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been told that in my lifetime, that I was inappropriate.
Yep. I don't think you've been inappropriate in any of our conversations. Not even one.
Yeah. Well, I was on the phone with Robert Harboy.
Yes, ma'am.
Why I didn't answer. He gave me his email so that I could send those things that we wrote. And he has my phone number so that if you and him talk, I can
I told him I would be on the phone for those conversations.
I definitely need you to be on the phone for those conversations.
Because I said, if you get, stressed, then communication is harder, and then it just gets harder to get to the details of it. So that was fine. And so I have his email and his phone number now, and I kind of just gave him a 20-minute history lesson of kind of how all this is connected. And he did a good job of listening and kind of just saying what he thinks the judge will and won't entertain, and then how I said that he needed to, because the judge isn't going to listen to your need to turn in certain things that he said maybe the Attorney General's office would entertain it, and then the State Patrol. And I said, well, the State Patrol has already had an investigation. And I said, maybe
they didn't investigate. That's the problem.
Right. And so what I'm thinking is I can also, if you want, send those statements to Officer Jones.
Yeah, the problem is that Officer Jones is just as into it as the rest of them. I mean, the things that she said to Starr, I mean, those are not things of somebody who's actually interested in investigating. She was trying to convince Starr not to help.
Did you actually get to hear those calls?
No, ma'am, and that's the problem. That's part of the reason why I record everything.
Yeah, because I've not had that experience with Officer Jones, so I guess I'm just a little worried.
And she has yet to talk to me. She has not tried at all to talk to me.
So I might see if there's a way that I could talk to her with you.
Yes, ma'am.
But I don't think, that's not my experience with her. I think I've only talked to her once, I think, or maybe twice. But
what did she have to say?
Never said anything negative about you like Starr says. So I don't know.
What did she say to you?
She just said she looked up your warrants, and she said he doesn't have state warrants. And then she said that okay, let me try to think back about this. He didn't have state warrants, and that I'm sorry, this is all a mess in my head.
Yeah, for me.
I just don't really remember her saying much. My whole thing when I was talking to her was just trying to figure the warrants out. And later, I'll think about it. I'm sorry, my mind is blank. I'm tired. But I would remember if there was anything negative. That part I would remember. But anyway, I did understand. I asked questions about warrants yesterday too. And I asked the attorney about warrants if he knew about it. And he said, well, states it's the way the states show the warrants. Like if they show a state warrant or a multi-state warrant versus a local warrant, then other states would be able to see the local warrants. So that's why they said there was no warrants, because in Nebraska they can't see Colorado's local warrants. They can only see their state warrants.
Well, that's the thing, is that those warrants exist because I didn't have help in person. I had to go in by myself, and that makes it their word versus mine, and that does not fly. When you're called mentally ill, you automatically lose, and that is what is happening.
Yeah.
Nobody will do anything about the safety issues. They listen to the cops, not to me. They will listen to the cops, but not look at evidence. They assume my guilt every time.
Yeah.
You get to see that. I mean, that's not 100% what happened in court today, but it's a railroading for sure.
It's my understanding now, from having watched two courts, is that that the function is that they will only listen to what's right in front of them, whatever that issue is. And so they're not going to entertain, or however that word is used, other things during that court date. So I'm going to, I don't know, do you think there's any value in sending those to Sergeant Jones?
It's better than nothing.
Okay. I'm going to send those so that she is that. And maybe I can talk to her, I don't know. And after the one thing, I really have no need to talk to her, but I can try.
Do you have her phone number so I can call her?
I don't. I had an email, but I can ask for that in the email. Ask for a phone number for you.
You think you could call the attorney with me?
Yeah.
All right. I don't know how to do that.
You might want to give him like an hour because he just got that over. He was going to look at it. Or you can do it now. I don't know how to make a three-way call, but I think I can figure it out.
I don't know how either. I've tried. I usually end up hanging up on people. I don't think I've ever successfully completed a three-way call.
Would it be okay if I emailed him those things so he could read that first? Because otherwise it's not going to make any sense.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to do that now. And then I'll send it to the email that I have for Sergeant Jones and ask her if you can call her or give you a number or whatever. The thing is you gotta get that so that she has that background too. I think that gives a better. Okay, so let me pull this up. Court, he had my number already because they must have sent it with the paperwork.
Yes, ma'am. Give me about 30 seconds. I got to use the bathroom.
Okay.
I'm back.
Okay. I'm gonna.
See, that's the thing. That guy said to call the Nebraska State Patrol. What happened when I called the Nebraska State Patrol?
Yeah. If what the current lawyer needs is what that charge means so that he can fight against that charge. First and foremost. And so they charged you with Sorry, I can't do two things at the same time. I'm trying to send this email. Calling 911 over and over.
It wasn't calling 911 over and over. It was calling 911 to have them tell me that I need to call the Nebraska State Patrol, for me to call the Nebraska State Patrol, for them to tell me that I got to call Dual County. So I call Dual County. They tell me that they can't investigate themselves. So I got to call the Nebraska State Patrol. They say they can't investigate the police, or they can't police the police. And I have to call Dual County. So I call Dual County again, and they say they can't investigate themselves. I got to call the Nebraska State Patrol. So I call the Nebraska State Patrol, and they tell me they can't police the police. That is what those phone calls were that morning. That is literally how it went.
Okay.
It wasn't just 911. It was phone tag. It was just like I said, I call one number, they tell me to call another. But these two numbers just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. These are fucking head games. It's not okay. They took away my ability to take care of myself. They took away my ability to defend myself. They have done everything in their power to prevent me from showing evidence, and I need help in person. See, that's the thing, is that when I go to the police, they harm me. Scott told me that if I had issues with his deputies, to take it to him, and I did. That was in 2018, and they had me committed. The very same officers I was trying to turn in. And then I was assaulted in Scotts Bluff. I have to be afraid to talk to the police. I need someone to go in with me in person. You know, they talk differently when somebody else is there. They treat me differently when somebody else is there. That's why someone else needs to be there. Man, I can't function. There is no way that I'm going to be able to do this. They're literally forcing me into a dangerous situation where I'm going to be harmed because I can't take care of myself. They're taking advantage of the fact that I can't take care of myself, and they're doing everything that they can to rob me of resources for doing what it is that I was told to do. I need help. When I try to turn these rotten bastards in, they tell me I can get a hold of an attorney when I get out. I don't have the fucking money for an attorney, and they fucking know it.
I'm trying to document this for the lawyer for the current charges, if that doesn't get buried, so that he can cite the current charges. So that morning, the morning of what was it, the 16th?
I think so. I'm not for certain.
Okay. I'm just going to say the current charges are because he called the sheriff's office, started with the sheriff's office, told him to call State Patrol. State Patrol told them to call the Jewel County Sheriff's Office. Went back and forth calling both.
Also, I've made multiple calls to the Nebraska Attorney General's office. The problem is that my abilities with the computer prevent me from being able to do all that stuff electronically. I mean, I literally, if it hadn't been for Juan, I wouldn't have been able to do that. I've been trying for 3 years.
Did you also call 911 in that?
I did. I called 911 because there are safety issues. Somebody ate a burrito that was wrapped in an aluminum foil wrapper. So I got lucky because now I have an aluminum foil pipe that I can smoke my tobacco out of. And it doesn't taste like a burrito. I think the burrito part is on the outside.
So, the safety issues and threats that the sheriff or his deputies wouldn't investigate is part of why you were afraid.
Part of it. The thing is that they wouldn't investigate any of the crimes against me.
Okay, so the current charges are because he called the sheriff's office, told them to call the state patrol told them to call the Jewel County Sheriff's Office. He went back and forth calling both. He also called 911 multiple times asking for the state patrol to come because of safety issues and threats. The sheriff's office or deputies wouldn't investigate.
Oh, these were threats by the sheriff.
Okay, so that was by the sheriff.
Yeah, he was running around town telling people he's going to run me out of town. He's done it once before. Twice before.
My understanding is if he didn't physically force you out of town, it's not illegal for him to want you out of town.
No, ma'am, he didn't walk me out of town.
Want. I said want.
It's okay for him to want me out of town. It's not okay for him to try to run me out of town. That is not okay. I am trying to turn him in, and what he is doing is abusing his power to prevent me from doing that. To prevent me from having the resources to defend myself against him and his goons. I don't have a safe place to go, ma'am.
Yeah, I don't know. I was going to ask the judge if the court knows of safe houses, or if the court knows of disability advocates, or if the court knows of court advocacy groups. But
I'm homeless. They don't care. I'm number one on their list. I'm free money. I'm easy money, and every judge knows it. Every officer knows it. We are their bread and butter, in specific, homeless males. The homeless account for about 500,000 people in the United States now. That's 1/120th of the population of disabled people. It's 1/120th the population of Black people. Meanwhile, they consist of just a little over 49% of those killed by police every year. I am at high risk because of my disabilities, because of my financial situation, because of my physical disabilities. They keep asking me to do things that I am not capable of doing and then harming me when I can't do them. Just because I don't know how to do this computer stuff, it's okay to railroad me, and that's just not okay.
Yeah.
I don't have the money for an attorney because of the things that the police did when I tried to turn them in. So I gotta give him an hour before calling him.
I'm going to send this right now. I just wanted to repeat this part to you, and then I'll email it. So the Shawn State's current charges are because he called the sheriff's office, who told him to call the state patrol.
I started off calling the state patrol, actually.
Okay, called the state patrol to turn in the sheriff, right?
Yep.
Or not. For what were you turning in for at that point?
For everything that I've gone through in the last 3 years because of him. I needed to be able to turn him in for the crimes that he committed.
I need to know he's going to want to know what those, well.
Ma'am, that's the reason for talking to him.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is it? I need to be able to explain this in person. It's,
okay. So I just put crimes.
Yeah, he was covering for the wrongdoing of his officers. He had me committed to Scotts Bluff because I was trying to turn in his officers. He had me sent out of jurisdiction for trying to turn in his officers, and he did it again.
Sorry, I am struggling.
That's all right. You've had one day of this. Wait a week. You'll be... Ma'am, do you see why I want my life to end? Do you see why it is that I am fighting so hard? Because I want to live, ma'am, but not like this.
No. Turn in this. Maybe I don't know. I want to type it because it's just so hard to follow. I just feel like this is going to help, but I don't want to drag this out either. So this is going to say Shawn State's current charges are because he called the state patrol to turn in the sheriff, and 4, covering it 4, covering up the wrongdoings of his officers. When I tried to turn them in, he had me committed to Scott's Bluff.
People were telling me that Scott was trying to run me out of town. I have that recorded. He was trying to have me run out of town because I was trying to turn him in. I should not have to be forced to go to a police department or a sheriff's department that abuses me in such a way. I was trying to turn in Sheriff Scott DaCosta, and I recorded all of it. Well, I recorded it until I turned off my computer because they were arresting me, and I was going willingly. Scott DaCosta should not have been there.
So if you went willingly, then, and they're saying you didn't, then
I was going willingly. And then I was harmed, and then I was tackled to the ground.
So body cameras need to be...
All of the body cameras.
Okay. Sean states the current charges are because he called the state patrol to turn in the sheriff's crimes for covering up the wrongdoings of his officers,
as well as trying to have me run out of town, creating a safety risk for me.
When he tried to turn them in, when he tried to turn them in, he had him.
You see how complicated this is for me? You see how complicated this is for me? You're having the same issues that I am. It just turns into a big giant mess.
Oh, go ahead.
It just turns into a big giant mess. You're experiencing some of the problems that I have. Not getting enough sleep, not being heard, being treated like you're inappropriate for trying to tell the truth.
Yeah. When he tried to turn them in, he had them wanted him.
With Scott DaCosta's previous history with me, I had to take those threats seriously. That's the thing, ma'am, is that I have hundreds of people that I have to turn in. hundreds, and I can't take a single one of them to court. And the longer it goes, the more of these people I have to deal with, and I can't afford to take a single one of them to court. They've been allowed to harm me for 4 years because I can't afford a lawyer. They've been allowed to harm me for 4 years because I couldn't get someone to listen and actually understand. This is 4 years of abuse, and it is never going to stop. People tell me, keep on fighting. Don't kill yourself. Keep on fighting. What the hell for? More abuse? I can't live like this, man. My entire life has been torture. Before Natalie died, I was able to take everything that was thrown at me and still try to be the most positive person that I could be. Try to have a positive frame of mind. Try to believe that there was some reason to have hope, and there is no reason to have hope. What you did was not inappropriate. You did the right thing. I have to break the law to try to go before a judge because I've already called all of the places that they told me to call. And those places all blew me off or told me it's not their job.
Well, now we know that's not even going to work because they're not going to listen unless it's a case you bring forward that you have filed charges on. They're not going to listen.
But I've tried and I've been denied. I need help in person to do that.
I know. So I'm going to...
Ma'am, the reason that Scott DaCosta pulled this stuff in 2018 is because I was trying to turn in his officers. I just needed to know how to do it.
Right.
I needed some help actually doing that instead of people dumping stuff off on me. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. They tell me I got to get a lawyer. Well, I don't have the money for a lawyer. They're taking advantage of my disabilities and my financial situation and making sure that I am too broke to fight back. This is literally the only way that I can even possibly hope to get help. Do you see why I break the law?
I see what you have in the past, but it is not going to work.
Ma'am, it's the only thing that I can do.
But it's not going to work. That's the bad thing. I understand what you're saying. I do.
Ma'am,
but after
there is something called necessity. Necessity. I had to do these things out of necessity for my safety and that of my loved ones. And no matter what they try to say, that is a legal defense in the United States for a reason.
I hear what you're saying. I just don't see it working. But I
Ma'am, I don't break the law unless I have to, and I don't have to unless people are actually harming me or threatening me with harm or my loved ones with harm. If I could go into the police and get them to actually do something, it would be different. If I could go to the Nebraska State Patrol and get something done, it would be different. If I could go to the Attorney General's office and get something done, it would be different. But they keep doing all of this stuff that prevents me from being able to take them to court. They've been doing this for 3 years. How can I take them to court? How can I possibly take them to court when I can't afford to feed myself because of the things that they did? I can't afford to put a roof over my head. People keep throwing it in my face about low income. They have no idea what it was like up there. How many times I was denied things that are my legal right to.
One of the things on the call when we do talk to your attorney is I want to ask him about the Attorney General's office and how I go about helping you file.
Good, because I need to file against the Nebraska State Patrol as well as John Steller and Steve Elmshauser and Joel J., Cody Selhorst, and Jared Hahn.
I wish there was a more strategic way of getting you out of harm's way and then pursuing all of these things. And I know what you're going to say, that
I've been doing that for 4 years.
Way without pursuing these things, which I understand, but I'm also trying to figure out.
Ma'am, I can't get myself out of harm's way when all of my money is going to courts that I am unsafe going to.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing.
I know.
I'm trying to figure out strategically how to get the shortest route in the complicated marathon to get the courts off your back so that the pursuit of all this wrongdoing can be taken care of. And I know some of it has to be done first, some of it has to be done second.
Ma'am, they railroad me in court over and over and over again. And then they used the last court date to railroad me in the next one. I needed to be able to have that court date with Natalie Bollinger back in 2017. I fought hard to get that court date. I made hundreds of calls before she was killed, hundreds of calls to try to get help. Hundreds of calls. Just because they discriminate against anyone with a penis doesn't make it my fault. Just because they victimize the homeless doesn't make it my fault. I broke the law out of necessity because there was no other way. Everything that they told me to do, every people that they told me to go to, I went to. I called those people over and over and over again, and no matter what, nobody ever called me back. No investigator from the Nebraska State Patrol ever called me back. No investigator from the FBI ever called me back. I'm sorry I wasn't able to get Amy's kids to a safe place, but at least I was able to get Amy Spencer's kids to a safe place. I took a lot of abuse for it, but it was worth it. Those kids were so naughty. They were not well behaved at all. But why would they be? Rihanna was fucking drunk all the time. Their mother has repeatedly chosen methamphetamines over her own kids. That's the issue I got with both of my parents. They had a choice between their drugs and their kids, and they chose their drugs. And then they treat me like I'm a terrible person for saying so. I wasn't raped in the system because I was a terrible kid. I was raped in the system because I was put into the system because my parents couldn't stay off the cocaine.
I had to find you a way to get you somewhere where you can not be homeless.
See, all the stuff that I told you on day one, all the stuff I told you on day one, you're telling me now. You're absolutely right. You are absolutely right, ma'am. And the sheriff has done everything that he can to make sure that I'm homeless. He has done everything in his power to prevent me from turning in his officers.
Do you still feel today the way you did a while back before you went to Denver about that you're better off homeless in Chapel than you are in, I don't know.
In Colorado? Yeah, I am a lot safer here than I am in Colorado. The problem is that Colorado will pursue me in Nebraska and have me deported, and Nebraska will allow that.
So the Colorado court cases in that way are more critical.
No, ma'am, Nebraska's the same way. And if I go down there to my court date in Colorado and they arrest me at my court date, then I'll end up with a failure to appear here, and I'll have to start all over again.
So what if Colorado will let you appear by phone? I noticed they let people do that today. Would that be helpful or no?
That would be a good start, but the thing is, ma'am, that I had to do these things out of necessity, and that's what that evidence shows. That evidence shows that the police repeatedly, when I tried to turn them in, I was told that I had to go to that department, and that department, well, they did fucked up shit when I tried to turn in their officers.
Okay, so
you're absolutely right about I can't do this from being homeless. That's the thing, is that this entire time I've been trying to explain that. And it's not just from being homeless. I also need help in person. That is key. I need a safe environment and help in person. Not somebody who's going to be busy trying to have sex with my friends. Not somebody who's going to be busy doing drugs. not somebody who's going to be too busy getting drunk and abusing children or doing meth and abusing children. When Amy told me that her daughter said that Andrew molested her, I did the right thing. I called the cops. But the first thing I did was try to get her somewhere safe. I tried to get her somewhere safe. And the lady that I let know about it to try to get her help, that lady jumped the gun. Instead of helping me to get Amy and her daughters and son somewhere safe, that lady called the Sydney Sheriff's Department instead. So I let Amy know. And then she treated me like shit for it. Like, what the hell do you expect me to do? You tell me that your daughter said she was molested by Andrew, and you expect me to say nothing and do nothing? That's the thing, ma'am, is this is in multiple jurisdictions for a reason. They won't allow me to show any evidence from another jurisdiction or from another department if it's in the same jurisdiction. But they can have me sent to other departments and have me sent to other jurisdictions when I try to turn them in. Did you send those first 2 documents to him?
I did. So let's say we still have to find you a shelter somehow. I don't know how to do that. I don't know if your trailer can be moved to somebody else's property.
No, ma'am, I was trying to do that. Every suggestion that you have, I've already tried, and I'm not trying to be a jerk. And living in that horse trailer, ma'am, it is wintertime.
I know. That's why I suggested the shelter first, and I know that's not good either. I don't know how to get you out of the elements.
When I was in Boulder, I walked people to the warming center every night. And I never stayed there because it was too scary for me. Too many people. I stayed there maybe a grand total of 5 times in 7 years.
I don't know how to find you shelter. You can't be outside. You can't be in the winter. I don't know how to find you shelter there.
That's the thing, is that they don't care. I need to go somewhere where there's going to be someone to help me. I don't have the money to travel to all of these things because of what the sheriff did. And he's done it more than once. I was trying to turn in the sheriff. I've been trying to turn him in since 2018.
I know. There just doesn't, in my mind, there doesn't seem to be anything more critical at this very moment than finding you shelter. It's winter. If it was summer, it'd be less of an issue, but it's in the winter. Is there like a really, I know you don't have any money today, is there a super cheap hotel in Scottsbluff or like a, I don't know, is there, just trying to think outside the box.
Scottsbluff is 114 miles away.
And what's the closest town that has a tiny little hotel? there one in Chapel?
No, ma'am, not anymore. There might be one in Sydney.
How far is Sydney?
30 miles. It would have been nice if I'd I didn't need people to do things for me because there's too much for me to wait on somebody else to show up to do it for me. I need someone to teach me how to do these things.
I know it's not ideal. I'm not saying it's a substitute for somebody in person, but I think I can teach you quite a bit online. It's not the same. It's not ideal. It's definitely not what you need.
I need a safe environment in order to even function, ma'am. There is not much of me left.
That's why I'm just sick about the money.
That's the thing, ma'am, is that every time I tried to turn in cops, they did this. Every time. Every single time. It's not that I'm not trying to get help, it's that I'm denied help. The help that I need is to be able to defend myself in the court dates that I was prevented from going to. I don't have the money to defend myself, so I'm not a fucking human being. I don't have the rights of the Constitution because I have no money. I have to depend on public pretenders who don't give a shit. They just want to get it out the door and get to the next guy so they can get paid. Public pretenders are the worst because they get paid whether they do their job or not.
Well, I want to try to cultivate this guy so that he
Man, I need to explain to him what's been going on.
Right, I know. You'll be able to. I just have seen this happen over and over where, especially when you're in crisis, and because it's such a complicated situation, I think it gives people a minute to read it, digest it, and hopefully there won't be so much communication problems.
And the communication problems come down to them not listening.
They do, that's true, but there's also, autism is a communication disorder. There is still some communication issues on your end, too.
You're right, and I have admitted to that. That's the thing, is that I am the only person through all of this who admits that they aren't perfect. I'm the only person through all of this who has admitted to screwing up. I am the only person who, instead of trying to hide it and trying to get other people to help me cover up my crimes, I say it loud and proud. The crimes I committed saved lives.
This is where it's hard because an advocate or even a guardian would tell you more of what to do to get out of this than I can.
I don't want to get out of it, ma'am.
No,
I'm willing to spend the rest of my life in prison.
No.
Whatever it takes to change the laws so that disabled people have rights and homeless people have rights. Whatever it takes to stop my loved ones from being murdered by the cops. whatever it takes to get us heard. We are people too.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is you have a lot more ability to change those laws and make a difference and make change by being in a position of safety and
exactly
a clear name. But
and I haven't had that.
Cleared first.
I haven't had that. They're not going to let me clear my name. They already railroaded me in these court dates and did everything that they could to prevent me from turning these people in. Everything that they could to prevent me from doing the things that I needed to do to turn them in. They railroaded me in court and then shipped me to other places so that I didn't have the money, the means, or the ability to get back to turn them in. I needed help with this, and they have denied me the help that I need to defend myself against these predators. Nobody should have to break the law. I break the law out of necessity. It is necessary for me to try to get myself a safe environment. It is necessary for me to have my money to do that. It is necessary for me to get safely away from my predators.
The end goal of you being safe and being able to make change is still the end goal. But the way to get to that, there has to be a new path started today. Because the same path that's been happening is just deepening that hole.
See, that's the thing, ma'am, is that I needed an advocate. I need a guardian. I was supposed to have one at 18. I was supposed to have that at 18. Instead, I got dropped off with one shoe and a pair of pants and a t-shirt. That is what I had when I turned 18.
Right. So I'm not taking any of that away from you or trying to ignore any of that. I'm saying that,
ma'am, I'm not breaking the law right now. All right? I am doing my best to hope that I am heard.
right.
The abuse that I continue to endure is not fucking okay. Pardon my French.
But I agree. I'm not disagreeing. But we have to come up with some solution to get you some shelter somehow, even if it's not, I don't know. We got to think outside the box and get you some shelter first. You can't be out in the winter. And so I don't know what that shelter is. I'm going to look at Sydney or what, I don't know. And then for the month of February, before any of your money is gone, we need to look and see if there's anywhere that you can have rent, a small amount of rent, somewhere safe. Whether that's $200 or $300 for the month.
Ma'am, I can't get to my court dates.
I know we will work on that. If you are staying in Nebraska, which you can't go to Colorado.
But if I don't show up to my court date, then they're going to deport me to Colorado. And then that'll prevent me from being able to go to court again.
Okay, listen. I'm going to call the Colorado County Clerk, and I'm going to ask first, can you appear via phone? And find that out. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to find out if you can appear via phone, and see what happens. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to tell them You have no transportation, no way to get there. What do? Then we look at some sort of uber cheap rent for February in Sydney. What do you think of that?
I think good luck.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man, is that I don't, my credit is shit. I never have the money. People are always stealing from me. People are always taking advantage of me, and I can't continue to be abused because of my disabilities. I cannot continue this. I can't.
So
something has to be done for my safety. These are all things that, ma'am, I had a place before Natalie was killed. I had a vehicle before Natalie was killed, and it didn't run. I got it from David and Laura Nelson. They prevented me from speaking up in my court dates or turning in a report by repeatedly calling me mentally ill. These officers have repeatedly assaulted me for trying to turn them in. The very officer that I was trying to turn in came and assaulted me. That is not okay. He should not have even been there. It's not illegal for them to do it to me. It's only illegal if I do it back.
The thing that, in order to get this current stuff off your...
Ma'am, they've held Clearview over my head for 3 years. Even after Clearview has been shut down for doing the things they did to me to other people. The only reason that those other people got hurt is because somebody in their lives actually gave a fuck enough to step up. Not one of my friends ever did that. Not one of them. They told me I got to do it myself. You can't do it by yourself. Sammy Leon Lawrence IV, he had help in person. Zaid Atkinson had help in person. Tybra Hatay's family had help in person. But you know what? They weren't all painted as super psycho fucking serial killer rapists. I have been harmed for 4 years over the slander. They say, well, we can't do anything about the slander. We'll do something about the assaults, for Christ's sake. But without somebody going in with me, the cops don't take it seriously. And now none of them are ever going to take it seriously. Those officers are all invested in covering for their fellow officers. And you were absolutely right when you said that these officers' ears turn off as soon as I say what the other officers did. You were absolutely right about that. And that's the problem, is that I need to be able to show the whole truth, and I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to show that all of these people work together. I'm not allowed to show that. I'm not allowed to show that Natalie Bollinger and her friends stalked me for an entire year before she was killed. I'm not allowed to show the fact that I tried to get help. I can prove that in every one of my court dates, they lied outright. I can prove that, but I was never allowed because public pretenders won't do their jobs. These officers just don't want the publicity of people knowing that I went to them for help and they didn't do anything. You know, at least before Natalie died, they weren't doing anything. Before Natalie died, at least they weren't assaulting me. Before Natalie died, at least they weren't forcing drugs into me. They hooked me up with Nicole Peralta and Tamara with Region 1, and they did a great job, especially Tamara. But Tamara has a son who's autistic, so she was aware. She was actually able to help me, and she quit her job specifically because of me. She didn't want her son to have to go through this. And that was before Natalie was killed. Can you imagine that? I can't take care of myself, and they've taken complete advantage of that. I'm disabled, and they've taken complete advantage of that. I am alone, and they've taken complete advantage of that. I needed help in person this entire time. I needed help in person. I needed somebody to do what it is that you've done in the last few days. But I needed that before Natalie was killed. I have been repeatedly tortured into pleading guilty. I just need someone to put a stop to this. Can we call him now?
Yeah. I just want you to know, and I'm sure you already know, that he's going to want to focus on the charges that he's been given.
That's what I'm going to focus on.
Okay. Let me try to... Let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Let's see. Hang on. Oh, shit. Hang on. Do you have that number in front of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'll try to do. Okay. 308.
284.
284.
4051.
Okay. See if I do this right. If I didn't, I'll call you back.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, just a moment, and I will get him for you. Thank you.
Sean, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when he answers, you can tell him who you are and then put him on the phone.
Bob here.
Hi, I'm Sean Schwartz, and Meg's on the phone with me as well.
Okay.
I don't know if you've gotten to read any of the stuff that she sent you.
You know, I was not all the way through it. I started reading some of it. I've got an idea of what it says, but I haven't got all the way through it, Sean. Okay. Do you have some questions?
Actually, I wanted to fill you in on what's going on.
Okay.
I'm autistic, and I also am physically disabled. I'm also...
Okay, and as far as physically disabled, Sean, what is your physical problem?
Well, sir, I can barely walk. I can't walk up the stairs without a handrail. I can barely get in and out of a bathtub. I got problems with my lumbar vertebrae. I have problems with my right hip, my right knee, and my right ankle from an assault by police. Do what? I didn't hear you.
Okay. Do you want to just proceed then? So you're autistic, physically disabled.
Yes, sir. I also have Tourette syndrome.
Okay.
I've been trying to turn in the sheriff here for crimes that he committed, including covering up for the wrongdoing of his fellow officers. They ran me out of town once before. When I was trying to turn them in, I was told that by the state patrol that I have to turn it into the sheriff. When I tried to turn it into the sheriff, I was ignored repeatedly. This has been ongoing for 3 years, sir.
Okay.
On the
so
morning...
What crime do you believe occurred?
Well, sir, I've been trying to turn in my predators here in Chapel, Nebraska. He hasn't bothered to investigate any of it, and he has done everything in his power to obstruct justice as far as me trying to turn in his officers.
Okay, so who are the predators? The officers?
Yes, sir, but it's not just the officers, it's also people here in town in Chapel. Matter of fact, since the death of Natalie Bollinger, it's nationwide, sir.
Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell him the two deputies that you tried to turn in?
Deputy Hahn, Jared Hahn, and Deputy Cody Selhorst. They attempted to threaten, harass, and intimidate me into leaving town.
Okay, how did they do that? What did they actually do, Sean?
Well, it was a long time ago, and I've got a lot of stuff on my plate and a lot of stuff I have to remember, so you'll have to give me a minute. Also, because I'm autistic, it may take up to a minute for me to be able to answer. So if I don't answer immediately, it's not that I'm trying to ignore you. It's that I'm overwhelmed.
Okay.
The officers, I was trying to take the threats and harassment that I was enduring in Chapel, Nebraska at the hands of people like Cody Selhorst, I'm sorry, when I'm stressed out, the first thing I forget is names and numbers.
Is it Christopher Kurth?
Christopher Kurth. Matter of fact, I just talked to his brother at Pumpkin Pantry about an hour ago. He's actually a really pleasant dude. I told him his brother's a bitch. He told me he agrees. But anyway, I was trying to get help because I was being threatened, harassed, assaulted, and intimidated over the Natalie Bollinger situation for a whole year before Natalie was killed. Now, on the morning that this whole situation happened, Scott has repeatedly had me committed for trying to turn in his officers.
Who has? I didn't catch that.
Sheriff Scott DaCosta. I've repeatedly tried to get police to do something about the threats, harassment, and assaults that I've endured, but they're too busy covering their own heinies because there are a lot of people dead because they didn't do their jobs. And that's in multiple states. Now, on the morning that this altercation happened, I was trying to, people in town been coming up to me and telling me that Sheriff Scott DaCosta is trying to run me out of town. I've been attempting to get some help to press charges against him and his officers for the things that they've done, but they have repeatedly, and so have the cops in Colorado since Natalie Bollinger's death, gone out of their way to try to paint me as mentally ill so that they can justify the fact they didn't do their jobs. I had to go in by myself. I can't go in by myself. No homeless person should have to, and no disabled person should have to.
Go where by yourself?
To talk to the police.
Okay. So, and this is in conjunction with something with Natalie then?
Yes, sir, all of it. And Natalie was killed in Colorado. But the thing is that it was all over the news. There are a lot of websites dedicated to Natalie. There's a lot of Natalie Bollinger groups that are actually Sean Schwartz hate groups. I have been going through this for 4 years, sir. 4 years of being gang stalked, 4 years of trying to get law enforcement to listen, 4 years of being threatened, harassed, and assaulted over it. So I was trying to turn in the sheriff because of the safety issue that is present, and it has been present since before Natalie was killed. Before Natalie was killed, they just blew me off, but after she was killed, well, they had to hide the wrongdoing. Now, when I was trying to turn in Scott Costa in December, I was calling everybody that I was told to call, I called. I called the Nebraska State Patrol. That's who I was told that I needed to turn him into. But the Nebraska State Patrol told me that they don't police the police. I have to go to the Dual County Sheriff's Department. So I went to the Dual County Sheriff's Department. They said they can't investigate themselves, that I have to call the Nebraska State Patrol. And we have gone through this loop for 3 years, sir.
Okay. What do you want the Sheriff's Department investigated over, Scott? Or
Sean? I want them investigated for the things that they have done to cover their own wrongdoings. The fact that when I went to them, sir, you need to stop interrupting me. I am explaining it. You need to stop interrupting me. I will get to it. But if you keep interrupting me, then I have to start over. I am overwhelmed and I'm trying not to be. Your questions will be answered. Just listen, please. This has been 4 years worth. So I have to sort through hundreds of situations. There have been at this point, over 40 occasions where I've spoken with Dual County Sheriff's Department trying to get help with the threats and harassment in town that I'm having to deal with. But it's a popularity contest. They keep calling me mentally ill and using that as an excuse. They repeatedly tried to have me committed and made out to be schizophrenic as an excuse for doing these things. They have repeatedly, and I'm not talking about just the sheriff here, I'm talking about law enforcement in general, since the death of Natalie Bollinger, have done everything that they can to threaten, harass, and intimidate me and separate me from the people who are trying to help and separate me from the money that I need to survive. I am disabled. I am on a fixed income. And all of my money is going to the courts. It has been since Natalie was killed. They were trying to frame me for a crime that I didn't commit. And after they found out that I obviously wasn't the guy that killed her, well, then they went into, we're going to hide the fact that we did wrong stuff mode. And I have been dealing with that ever since. I've been gang stalked from people, not just in this country, but in foreign countries. And I'm told that I have to travel to these places to press charges against these people. I'm told that I can't bring up any of the things that these people are doing to me in court. And I've been repeatedly prevented from going to court. I literally showed up to every single court date until I literally had to break the law to try to get law enforcement to take a look, because nobody was there to help me in person. I was forced into homelessness, and I have been repeatedly assaulted for the last 4 years over things that I didn't do. I have had my disabilities used as an excuse to harm me, but then when it comes to sentencing, magically, all of the things that they did as an excuse not to take my report don't exist. Now, magically, I'm sane when it comes to sentencing. Anyway, his officers repeatedly refused to do anything, refused to take a report or do anything about the threats, harassment, or assaults that I have endured here in this town over the death of Natalie Bollinger. It was all over the news. In a small town, it's all about reputation. I came here to try to get safe from the police and the public in Colorado, because that's even worse, sir. Every time that I try to turn in the police, they ship me off to another jurisdiction where I can't turn them in. I need the body cameras from that situation, as well as the body cameras from Cheyenne County, all of the officers who were involved there. I also need the cameras from the jail in Gearing. Instead of looking at evidence, all they were interested in doing was sending me to a nuthatch and injecting me with drugs that are unhealthy. You know, they injected me with ketamine. Ketamine. I was tortured to the point that I want my life to end, but I can't say that if I go in alone. I can't say these people are bullying me to the point that I want my life to end. I need help to stop these bullies, but instead they reinterpret everything that I say to fit whatever their narrative is, and those body cameras need to be requisitioned. I was trying to turn in Scott. The places that I was told that I have to go to turn him in, I was told that I need to call the Nebraska State Patrol. I did that. They never, ever, ever called me back. Their investigators never got back a hold of me. This has been going on with Scott DaCosta in specific since 2018, and his officers since 2017, January of 2017. I've been repeatedly railroaded in court, and I have been forced to break the law out of necessity. I have to find a way to get this abuse to stop. But how can I get it to stop if people pretend that everything that I say is crazy? When they pretend that everything that I say is a figment of my imagination. I have had to go to YouTube and Facebook to post evidence because the police won't do anything. I make sure that it's documented. Before Natalie was even killed, I went to the police. I went to attorneys because I needed help. They told me they couldn't help me because I need money. But they said to document everything, and I have documented it the best that I can. But I'm not a computer person, and they keep changing the rules. Now, this has taken place across multiple states and multiple jurisdictions in each state. And it all started because Natalie Bollinger lied. And then I was assaulted by Officer Waylon Lolatai in Boulder. See, they keep taking me in on an EPC or an M1 hold or whatever they want to call it, depending on the state that I'm in. That's what they do to help me with my bullies, is they send me to a place that makes it worse. I needed to be able to see my loved ones. That's what helps me. But I have to worry about being harmed by the police and by the public, no matter where I go, because of these things. And because of the court dates that I was repeatedly railroaded in. When I tried to turn in Scott DaCosta on the 16th of last month, that was probably the 30th or 40th time that I tried to do that. See, here's what they do when I try to turn them in. They ship me to somewhere where there's a behavioral health unit. I don't need a behavioral health unit. I need an attorney to help me so that I can defend myself, and I need help in person to go through all of these things. I am not a tech-savvy dude. So when I was trying to turn in Scott DaCosta, again, they did the same runaround that myself and Meg have gone through, where we make these calls to who they tell us to call. And when we get a hold of that person, they tell us we're calling the wrong people. We have to call somebody else, who tell us to call somebody else, who tell us to call somebody else. Sir, I am disabled. I cannot take care of myself. I cannot defend myself. I'm not allowed. I literally have to break the law to try to force someone to take a look at the abuse that I'm enduring, because I have been denied the right to do it the proper way. People keep telling me, hey, you need to call the Nebraska State Patrol. When I call the Nebraska State Patrol, they tell me it's not their job to police the police. By the way, I recorded the situation on that morning. When they told me that they were arresting me, I calmly told them I want to turn off my computer first. And I turned off my computer, and I was going willingly. The problem is that Scott DaCosta should not have been there. I was trying to turn him in. I've literally made thousands of calls since Natalie was killed, and I made hundreds of calls before she was killed to try to get help. But because I don't have the money for a real attorney, all of these officers know that they can do whatever they want to me and get away with it. All they have to do is call me mentally ill, and it is their word versus mine. They turn off their body cameras and do whatever they want. I was afraid of Scott DaCosta. Those officers from the State Patrol were supposed to show up to help me, and they didn't. You have no idea how many times I have called the cops over this. Now, when he showed up, like, he should not have been anywhere near me. He should not have been there. When I tried to turn in his officers, those officers are the ones that he put in charge. And that has happened repeatedly since Natalie's death. I try to turn in an officer, and they send that officer every time. I tell them, please don't send me to Scotts Bluff. They assaulted me in Scotts Bluff the last time that you sent me there. And that's the thing, is that the assault by Waylon Lolatai, I was charged with assault. And even though they dropped the charges, they made sure that they ate up all of my money and put me at risk. I am at risk everywhere I go because of the news media and because of what the police have done to try to hide their crimes. I am literally trying to get help so that I have a safe place and help in person so that I can defend myself against these people. I have to do these things by myself, and I am not capable. They made sure of that. So when I was trying to turn in Scott, it's the same thing every time. The Nebraska State Patrol tells me that I have to get a hold of Dual County Sheriff's Department. I get a hold of Dual County Sheriff's Department. They say they can't investigate themselves. I have to call the Nebraska State Patrol. I call the Nebraska State Patrol. They tell me that they don't police the police. I have to go to the Sheriff's Department in Dual County. Over and over and over again. When I try to explain to them my safety concerns or try to turn in the sheriff, they talk over me so that I can't say it, so that I can't say what I need to say, and they can pretend that I didn't try. I have recorded this over and over and over again. I have hundreds upon hundreds of recordings of this, sir. And they keep pretending that I never went in there calmly and tried to get help. This has been going on for 4 years. When I got a hold of them last time, I made sure that I was able to get someone on the phone. And we ran around trying to go to all of these agencies that we're supposed to go to, trying to do all of these things that I am not capable of doing because I don't have the money. There is the distance that needs to be considered, the fact that I don't have a vehicle that needs to be considered, the fact that I don't have a guardian that needs to be considered, the fact that I've tried repeatedly to get help that I need instead of them and their mentally ill treatment where they try to force drugs into me for trying to turn them in. They have been repeatedly putting disassociatives into me. That's a chemical lobotomy that lasts anywhere from 2 weeks to the rest of your life. They have injected me with drugs that have been known to kill people for trying to turn in the police and for trying to turn in my predators. And every time they turn off their body cameras, and when Natalie died, I didn't have the ability to do any of the stuff that I needed to do to record it. I didn't have anyone to go in with me. And I had been trying for an entire year to get help because I was being abused. This has so far resulted in me having to flee for my safety from police officers because I can't turn them in. There is no one to turn them into. I literally have to break the law to try to get a court date so that I can go before a judge and say, hey, I have gone to the police. I've gone to the Nebraska State Patrol. I have called all of these numbers that I was told to call. I have called the state attorney general's office, and they told me they transferred me to the FBI. And the FBI, I've tried to explain repeatedly what's going on, and they ignore me. I need someone to make these calls with me so that I don't get blown off. I needed help with this computer stuff because I didn't know how to do it. Now, Scott DaCosta came back after that whole situation where he assaulted me and charged me with assault. He should not have been here. And then he came here and he intimidated Dallas. And that's not okay either. And I have it recorded, Dallas's own words. And all of this, I have recorded all of these things as best that I can. And police have gone out of their way to ignore it and to actually abuse me for trying to turn them in over and over and over again. Their protocol, when you try to turn in a police officer and you have to go in alone, especially if you're a homeless male, is to have you committed rather than look at the evidence. Even the Nebraska State Patrol has taken part in helping them to hide their crimes, to pretend like I am schizophrenic so that it somehow magically justifies the crimes that they've committed, and they've committed a lot of them. That's why when you ask me what crimes they committed, which time? I'm overwhelmed, sir. I am disabled and I can't defend myself. I need a guardian and I need help so that I can get someone to look at this evidence and help me to press charges against these officers instead of being told that I have to go to the very officers who harmed me to try to get help. The situation with Chris Kurth, I mean, that's all of these people in town who have harmed me repeatedly. They're harming me over a crime I didn't even commit. Natalie Bollinger's family has made my life hell, and I have never been allowed to show the evidence that I have. This time, Finally, after 4 years of trying to get help, Meg is helping me as best she can from long distance. She is the first person in 4 years who has made an actual attempt to help me. None of my public pretenders made any effort whatsoever. And they don't like it when I call them public pretenders. The thing is that they're not even pretending to defend me. Most of them have outright done everything in their power to try to threaten, harass, and intimidate me themselves. When I try to fire my attorneys for not doing their jobs, the thing is that they're not defending me. There are safety concerns that need to be addressed, and if they're not addressing those concerns, then they're not doing anything to defend me because I am still at risk. I am already considered a high-risk adult. Extremely high risk of being abused, high risk of being abused by the police, high risk of being abused by the public. I am a high-risk individual. I am not trying to hurt myself. I'm trying to get help because people repeatedly keep on harming me. And by preventing me from being allowed to even go to my court dates, this is all stuff that needs to be looked into. This has taken place in multiple jurisdictions, in multiple states. And I'm not allowed to bring any of that up. I'm not allowed to bring up the fact that I was trying to call to turn in Scott DaCosta, or that I've tried repeatedly, but I have nobody in person. And Scott DaCosta and his officers have been allowed to repeatedly threaten, harass, and intimidate me and the people who are trying to help me. And this is how it has been since Natalie was killed, sir. Before that, all they did was ignore me, tell me it's not their job no matter what. Now they tell me it's not their job and harm me. That's what happens when you're charged with assault against a police officer, and I was the one who was assaulted. But that stays on your arrest record, and police are not nice after that. Meanwhile, I go to the police, and they keep on lying to me. Who would you recommend that I go to if I need to turn in Scott DaCosta?
Well, what are you, and you still haven't answered, Sean, what are you turning him in?
For covering up the crimes of his fellow officers and for threatening and harassing me.
Okay, and what has he done for threatening? What has he done that you feel is a threat?
Sir, he's been running around town telling people he's going to run me out of town, and I have those people recorded.
Okay.
One of them is a guy named Wendell McPhee.
He doesn't want you into town is not a threat.
No, sir, it's not the fact that he doesn't want me in town. It's the fact that he is telling people that he's going to run me out of town. That is a threat. I'm trying to turn this man in for repeated crimes that have happened before this, a lot of them, and I would rather show you the evidence than try to explain it.
Okay. Do you have a place to meet? Because the only place I usually meet people is the courtroom in Dual County.
And see, that's the thing, is that all of my resources have been robbed from me since before Natalie was killed.
Because usually I meet with them upstairs on the 3rd floor. There's a private room that we talk to. And it might be better if we meet face-to-face and go over some of that.
Well,
but
sir,
you need to understand I'm only appointed on the charges. All this other stuff, is not something I'm appointed to handle.
That's the thing, sir.
I would be happy to talk to you and how it relates to your current charges in Dual County.
Sir, the problem is that there is too much of it for me to try to explain it to you in this fashion. I mean, I need help. My safety needs to be a concern. My safety needs to be a concern.
Well, and I'm not appointed for your safety. I'm appointed to represent you in the criminal case. Now, if you bring up something that I think I can direct you in the right area to help your safety, I will do that. But do you have a place to meet in Chapel? You're in Chapel, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a place to meet in Chapel?
I can meet you at the Catholic Church.
the Catholic Church?
Yeah, we'll have to do it outside. I'm homeless, dude.
Okay, is there a place outside to do it?
There's a couple of benches there. You might want to bring a jacket. It's chilly today.
Well, I can't do it today, Sean. I'm going to have to set up a time that I can get to Dual County, which is not going to be today. It's not going to be tomorrow.
Sir, I have court in Colorado on the 26th, and I can't go there. I can't afford to go there. That's the thing, sir, is that these officers...
But I'm not appointed in Colorado. I can't tell you what Colorado does. I can't help call anybody in Colorado to get you to court. I don't know if you're appointed an attorney.
That's the problem, sir, is that these officers are allowed to use jurisdiction in order to prevent me from being able to have an honest court date. That's their MO. That is what they do every time. They ship me to another jurisdiction for trying to turn them in. This has happened repeatedly. All of this is over the death of Natalie Bollinger and the slander from it. The abuse that I continue to endure. I need a solution. I need a way to turn these things in without being threatened, harassed, assaulted, or injected with drugs.
Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
I will call Colorado, and I will see if you can appear by phone, and I'll get that information for you.
I need an actual attorney, ma'am. This guy's not going to do anything to help.
Well, he's going to do what he was asked to do, which is actually complete those charges addressed, because now the state is charging you with those two things, and we need him to help you with those two things. Because you can't just let those two things fall because of other things.
Ma'am, they're going to railroad me by not allowing me to show the truth. And that's what he's telling me. That is what he's saying.
Well, what I'm telling you, you can show the truth as it relates to these charges, but the judge isn't going to address any of your other concerns. He's going to address, did you commit this crime or did you not commit this
I did not commit a crime. I attempted to get help with abuse that I am enduring. That's the point, sir, is that I continue to endure this abuse, and I can't just continue to take this abuse for the rest of my life. That's the thing, is that I've been trying to turn in my predators. I have been harassed, threatened, and assaulted for 4 years. You would think at some point somebody would say, hey, somebody needs to put a stop to this. Scott DaCosta did the things that he did because I was trying to turn him in.
Well, and some of the problem, we can talk about that, Sean, is I think you need to, well, we can talk when we meet. I've got time Wednesday of next week. That's about the first time I can get the job.
Yeah, well, that doesn't do anything for my safety. It needs to... See, that's the thing, sir, is that when they want to harm me, they get to do so immediately, but I have to wait and wait and wait and wait. And the longer I have to wait, the more frustrating it is because I have no place to go. Sheriff Scott DaCosta.
In this case is, the court systems are not quick. And this court system isn't about...
They're quick when it comes to railroading somebody. They're quick when it comes to charging somebody with a crime because they had to defend themselves.
But Sean, we need him to address these two things that are now on your plate.
I'm aware of that, but it's not just two things that are on my plate. All of this has to do with those charges. All of this has to do with it. Nobody should have to call a place 100 times to try to get help stopping abuse. No disabled person should have their disabilities used as an excuse not to investigate the crimes. And nobody who is disabled should be abused by the police for being disabled.
Correct, but he has to address those two lawsuits, those two, whatever they're called, against you, so that you are free to pursue with help turning them in for specific crimes.
Yeah, and the thing is that I can go through each and every one of those specific crimes and I can send evidence of it. The problem is that there are so many.
Well, and, to a certain degree, when you're calling these folks, and I'm not telling you to call them again, at least until we talk, you need to outline, all right, I just want them to investigate this one. I don't deal with 80 crimes. We just want one crime. How were you assaulted? When were you assaulted? Those facts allow them to investigate. When you just say, I was assaulted.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm telling you, is that there is too much of it for me to remember all of the names and numbers and dates. That's why I record it. That's why I save it. That's why I need to be able to show it. I have it saved. I just didn't have any help to show it.
Right. That's true. And he's not arguing it, neither am I. What he's saying is...
I know what he's saying, and it's not right.
Well, and what I'm saying, Sean, is you've tried 100 times to turn them in the same way.
No, sir, I've tried every way possible. It's not just making those calls. I have tried to get help in person. I literally had to break the law because every single place that I called would do nothing. I didn't just call the Nebraska State Patrol. I called the Nebraska Attorney General. I called the FBI. I called everybody that there is to call. I have been...
We've been on this phone for a half hour, and I haven't heard a specific thing except the generality that, well, they assaulted me, they abused me, they done this.
Sir, I'm sorry that I can't tell you the exact date. Sir, out of these hundreds of situations, I am sorry that I can't tell you the exact date that these things happened. I am telling you specific situations and which officers did it. That is a good start. I am sorry that I can't remember every single one of these things at a moment's notice, especially when there are hundreds of them.
And I agree, Sean, that maybe we need to sit down and talk in person.
Exactly, sir. But it needs to be done quickly because I am being railroaded. I will be railroaded if I can't get to my court date in Colorado. Meanwhile, there are warrants for me in Colorado because I was not allowed to defend myself.
But Sean, let me call Colorado. Let me see if you can appear by the phone. Because even if he talks to you before Colorado, it's not going to change anything because your court date in Dual County is until February 18th. Even if he could come and see you today.
It's not going to speed up the court date.
It's not about speeding up the court date. It's about putting a stop to these things. They have prevented me from being able to turn my predators have repeatedly harmed me and then charged me with crimes for trying to tell on them.
But Sean Martin, talking to him today versus Wednesday isn't going to stop it. That's the problem.
Ma'am, it's not the fact that whether he talks to me now or on Wednesday, it's the fact that I am in an unsafe situation. I am not safe here. I am homeless here. I don't have a place here. People harm me here. People threaten to kill me and stalk me across multiple jurisdictions to do so.
And I understand that. All I could refer you to is a homeless shelter. I can't change the fact you're homeless and don't feel safe.
No, sir, not don't feel safe. I am not safe.
Okay, and I can't change that. Talking to you today, all I could do is, hey, call HHS and talk to them about getting you a homeless shelter or something of that nature.
Sir, I've called DHHS. I need a safe environment. I am autistic and overwhelmed. Putting me in a homeless shelter is the worst thing to do.
So what environment do you need?
Well, sir, I need a place with some peace and quiet and some internet. I can't afford that.
is that I guess I will have to probably, of any resources like that. I have been looking.
I am not aware of any resources that would help in this situation. DHHS is probably, to me, the closest shelter or place, homeless shelter or place, probably.
I don't need a homeless shelter. I need a safe environment. A homeless shelter is not safe.
What time is your appointment Wednesday?
We probably want to make it January 27th, next Wednesday. I guess 1 o'clock.
That's January 27th. I have to be to court in Colorado on the 26th. I don't have the money to go to court in Colorado.
Okay, why don't you call me on the 26th? We can talk and see if you're going to be able to meet me that day after that.
I can do that, Sean. I can call.
And then we can talk when and where, but probably 1 o'clock is where we should shoot.
Can I ask you, in this case where he has a resisting arrest, can you, as the public defender, request body cameras to prove that?
Yeah, we're entitled to discovery in the body cameras if they were on or they had them. I don't know, but we can get discovery and go from there.
Okay. And Sean, was it both the State Patrol and Jewel County that was there for that arrest?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that would be...
It was two of those officers, three of them, were people that I was trying to turn in and have been trying to turn in. Scott DaCosta, Bill Burr, and I don't remember the other one's name. I wasn't resisting arrest, sir. I was trying to turn in Scott DaCosta.
Okay. So let's just plan on calling. We can touch base on the 26th to work out details, but then I can try to get to Chapel on the 27th to meet with you if that still works.
I can make that work, Sean.
How am I going to get...
How are you going to get what?
Someplace safe. Scott DaCosta intimidated Dallas into not helping me. Used his kids to do that.
Let's you and I talk about that and let him go, and then see what we can do about the Colorado thing, and then also the shelter, some sort of safe shelter somehow.
I've been trying for 4 years, ma'am.
I know. So, can we hang up now and then I'll call you?
Yes, ma'am.